All right, so the next one, anonymous functions here. So this is a little bit interesting, and this is where the weak typing in JavaScript kind of comes to the forefront. If a variable can be anything, I mean, they're technically all just objects, well, why not a function? So what we've got here is, let's step through this a bit. I'm going to declare a variable f. All right, and hopefully that's visible enough. Sorry, my screen's up here. That's why I'm looking off into space. Um, I'm going to say this variable f is actually a function where we're going to alert some parameter coming in. All right. And again, I could just say this is function myfunc parenthesis x alert x, and then call that function like you normally would. Or I can add a layer of indirection here. So here's my variable f. I'm going to create a secondary variable g, set that equal to f, and then call g for 3 in this case. And we get my alert pop up. So I'm calling g. G is actually f. F is this function. Why on earth would you do this? I don't know, but it's something that you can technically do. Maybe you need layers of indirection. Maybe you have an array of anonymous functions that need to be called. Depends on what you want to do, but there is that flexibility here, right? And I could say var. Now let's be even cuter here, okay? So let's say var funcs equals f1, f5, f500. All right, and then let's say for let x in funcs x. Yeah, that should work. 1, 5, 100, or 500. Right? Again, this is just, or I should probably, yeah, that should work. So I get a little error here. Oh, that's defining that. Oh, ha ha ha, I screwed up. This should be 3 Fs, F, 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 and this should be X random? No, math.random. Nope, X is not a function. For let X of? Yeah, there we go. Like I said, I've got my lots of different for eaches here. So just, I'm going to leave that in, me kind of waffling here. I define an array of 3 functions, so f 3 times, and I'm going to iterate through this list, but before we were getting the index, here I'm saying let x of funcs, this x becomes the actual value, not an index into the array, and then I'm going to call it with math.random, which is just a random number between 0 and 1. Again, just demonstrating anonymous functions here, not getting super bogged down into the details. All right, so the third one is objects. So this is one of the, I find, more powerful things that you can do with JavaScript. As somebody who likes to write little hobby game projects, generative art projects is a separate thing. It's very nice to be able to just randomly add on attributes to objects halfway through your code. The software engineering person in me says that's a terrible idea, and it is, but makes life a little bit easier. Okay, so here I've got a person variable that I'm creating, and I'm creating it as a dictionary object, so curly braces instead of the array brackets. And then I'm not sending it to I'm not, building it from a constructor. I'm just adding on pieces to it. Person.first name equals John, last name Doe, age 50, eye color blue, and then write out the information that you see here. So John is 50 years old. All right. Easy enough. I'm basically defining a tiny little JSON object with this information. The equivalent would be var person2 equals curly brace, and let's say first name, and I'll use mine, Eric. Last name, Fredericks. Age, undetermined. Eye color. Is that syntax error? Snarky. Enough. Document.write person2. So just wanted to kind of show you this. This is strictly an object. It's not something that document.write knows how to handle. I would have to do the same thing here, but it's a good way to demonstrate the typing of something, right? So this is an object type. So I'm gonna copy and paste this down here, but instead of person, this is person two, person two. Good enough. Eric is undetermined years old. So basically just adding on attributes wherever you want. I could get rid of this. I could say, no, let's change this a little bit. So person two is this. Person two dot height equals super tall. Not super tall. Document.write. Oh, by the way, person two dot first name is height. I have a missing. Oh, forgot a plus here. So we got a concatenator string. Oh, by the way, Eric is super tall. Perfect. Completely secure in his short stature. So basically the idea is easy to just kind of take over variables as you need. Key takeaway here, everything is an object. You could consider it that way. And you can do with that what you will, I suppose. For better or for worse. All right, last little bit, let's talk constructors here. So this is going to be a similar type of situation where we're defining a person, except now we're going to define them to be a class. Class-ish, I suppose. So there's multiple ways. I guess let's step back a quick second here. There's multiple ways to define class-like objects in JavaScript. This is one way. So define a function, set this dot whatever attribute you want, and then you can refer to it like a class, right? This is an object of type person, and instead of creating like a dictionary type situation for them with those curly braces, we're going to instantiate it this way. Perfectly fine to do. And when we go ahead and create it, we could say, my father equals new person, and then pass in some parameters, and this returns a brand new object of type person. It's still a generic object in all sense of the word. So let me show you that. Comment that out. Document.write my father. It's still an object. It's not a person object. It's just an object, right? Undo that. We see same text here. Just to show you, something different. This isn't going to be in the fiddle, but if you want to follow along, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to go ahead and replicate this now in a class. So I could say class ePerson, constructor, first name, last name, age, eye color. So the only difference is I'm defining this more like a standard class type object. Right, this dot first. We can even just directly copy this because it's going to be the same code. All right. Oh, this doesn't get a parentheses there. ePerson. So this is going to effectively do a similar thing here. All right. It's going to be a little more self-contained, at least to me, though. I could say ePerson. Let's copy this. Copy both of these. All right, so just leave it as E. John Doe 2. E. Okay. Let's add in a line break. And let's add in last name instead of first name so that we see the distinction. Doe 2. Again, two ways to do the same thing. Now let's do one more bit, because before we saw it was of type object when I printed, right? So let's do document.write Oh, my father was the first one, and then E was the second one. And what I'm doing here is showing you these are both just type objects. So again, generic things that we're dealing with here. This was the first declaration here, function person. The second one is the one that I just created. Um, depends what your preference is. I'm sure there's arguments for or against each way. I tend to like this style of declaration myself, but there's nothing wrong with this. All right, probably enough for this video. I will see you all in the next one.